doing? How are we feeling? All right. So, show of hands, who's is this anyone's first DeepStation event? Oh, wow, nice. I love it. Okay, we have so many new folks. We have returning people. I love it. So for those that don't know, my name is Prahasi. I am the Fort Lauderdale chapter host for DeepStation. I'm currently a senior product manager. I work for UKG, which is a local company here. It's an HR company. I also have like a background in software engineering. And why we're
Right here.
There we go.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, helping us with the camera today. And in any event, he was part of Prompt Pirates. Is that right? The name?
Prompt Pirates.
Amazing.
Hey, Katie here too. Katie here too.
Oh, that's right. Katie as well. That's right. Let's give it up for Katie and Michael. Yeah, Fresh Bridge. Fresh Bridge.
Yeah,
I think Muntaser was on it too. So Katie, Muntaser, and Mike were on that. And yeah, so amazing hackathon. Can't wait to do some here as well. And we'll go ahead and just talk a little bit about our sponsors. Of course, Nova Southeastern University cannot go without saying. So thank you again to NSU for making all of this happen and for helping us with so much of the wonderful food and just like being a wonderful host. And also to our other sponsor, Miami-Dade College. Miami-Dade College is, it's helping accelerate AI education as well. And our other partners, Miami Tech Works, the EDA, and the Department of Commerce, they're really helping us with funding and, helping us drive forward education. And of course, also, one more past that, please. Thank you, Kaufman Rawson. So we've been partnering with Kaufman Rawson for quite some time now. We've done over 2 speaker sessions with them, as well as a few workshops with their team. And so if any of you need any CPA advisory support, you're working on mergers and acquisitions, they can go ahead and help with any such endeavors. And last but not least, if you need any support with AI agents or development of solutions of anything of the sort, DeepStation can help. We have amazing engineers, not only in Fort Lauderdale and Miami, but also across the world. And so if you're looking for talent, we've got you. If you're looking for jobs, also go to deepstation.ai/jobs. We're starting to have some posts up there right now. In fact, we have one job up there right now from Soap Payments. They're looking for someone $140,000 to $160,000 comp, including founder equity. So if you're an engineer looking to work in payments, feel free to go to deepstation.ai/jobs and learn more. So without further ado, we're really excited to bring onto the stage Livio. Livio is working on some really cool and exciting projects, and he's really looking forward to sharing more about the fourth industrial revolution and sharing about how you can work with AI in your startup and small business and do it in a more effective way. Is that right, Livio?
I think so.
Amazing. Well, we'll find out for sure after this. So amazing.
Here we go. And there's Spec.
Yeah.
Okay. Audio check.
Yeah, go ahead. You sound good.
Some audio issues I fixed it.
Screen.
I have to switch the audio to my iPhone, but it's working now. And we missed the crazy. So I went to the part where it was, oh, Mike, stuff. Blah, blah, blah. And then I started with it.
Technical setup.
Put it with something else. And someone told me
Okay.
fix it.
Here. Okay. Can we all see my screen just fine?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna lower the lid.
All right. Thank you guys for having. You know what?
How do we get slides?
Check. Can you all hear me just fine? All right, great. Well, thank you everybody for being here today. I'm Livio, Fractional CTO. Yeah, it's pretty wonderful to be here. Yes.
One more time.
Okay. On StreamYard? Yes, no problem.
Yeah, if everyone's sometimes stop sharing.
I'll share screen.
Don't worry, we'll start over from the beginning.
Okay. Allow.
Wait, you didn't introduce their challenge? The satellite?
We'll talk in a moment. I need to learn more with John.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go up and then reintroduce myself. and then-
Okay. Thank you. We got any support here. It's great. Anyway, I'll say audio.
Yes.
Everybody can hear me just fine. Stream is fine.
Everything's
All
good.
right, all the thumbs up. All right, thank you everybody. My name is Livio. I am your friendly neighborhood South Florida fractional CTO. I work with, I'm a mission-driven fractional CTO, which means that I help businesses who really care about what they're doing and really improve their bottom line, whether that means to make more money, whether that means to have a better impact in their communities, or just really drive their roadmap to hit that go-to-market strategy. I help people with their technology strategy from designing, validating, and execution. So a lot of it I summarize under strategic technology leadership, which just means that if you need a CTO at your table, maybe you don't have, you don't want to hire a full-time CTO, you just need that extra executive support. That's the kind of stuff that I do. So I come here today with something especially non-technical, right? And by that I mean, I'm not here to give you like a whole setup or a whole demo of how AI works or how you can execute a specific AI tool or strategy. I'm here to give you some mental tools primarily to really come into the to be really participate in the fourth industrial revolution and be prepared for the next incoming revolution, which is already happening. I will talk about a little bit more about that later. So stop grinding, start thinking. Thank you. Thank you very much. Confidence. You are here. That's maybe the first section. We're going to go from search to synthesis. We're going to talk about a little bit the story, the history of industry as we know it. We're going to ask, why are you still sweating? So just kind of giving a little bit more information on how we are, on how we're living today. The sweaty stuff, which is going to be, I think I accidentally mixed up my contents here, but that's the gist of the talk. So let's just let's start with a small introduction. And if you've seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, please don't spoil what happens. If you haven't already seen it, we're going to start with you are here. But in order to understand of why we're here, let's go all the way back to the beginning. So, I see some very confused faces. Or there's the people who absolutely know exactly what I'm talking about. There's people who are totally confused. And for the people who are totally confused, this is called 2001: A Space Odyssey, right? This is a movie actually about humans discovering extraterrestrial life form. Actually, these monkeys or primordial humans, primordial apes, discovering extraterrestrial life form and then tracing that encounter all the way up to 2001, which is where there's an AI-powered space expedition to discover the same alien life form. That was a very big jump of logic here, but it's really to show you how technology happens, right? Technology doesn't happen totally by accident, but it does happen through intentional execution and through consistent problem solving, right? A very brief history of human progress here that I have on the page. We start with the Stone Age, which is pretty much what you just saw happen. They used stone tools or whatever tools you could find to start solving problems. Effectively, this primordial ape found a bone, picked up the bone, smashed another bone, and then realized I can use this bone as a weapon, as a tool for other intents and purposes. And eventually we see all the other animals falling, which effectively means that this animal has employed technology to start hunting and feeding itself and start building and protecting its herd. And ultimately, we go to the Iron Age, where we're actually able to extract materials from the ground and optimize them for tools. So now we no longer are making things out of bones or sticks. We are now in the Iron Age, we're making tools out of iron, a much more reliable resource that eventually allows us to plow fields, fight each other, build heavier structures, much sturdier structures, sturdier tools over time. And that led to an agricultural revolution where we actually started settling as a civilization. And through the agricultural revolution, we started creating settlements, and from settlements came people sharing spaces, from people sharing spaces came laws, so forth and so on, right? And through all these different circumstances, we continue to innovate all the way into the industrial revolution, where we employed the help of machines to really do a lot of the same work that we were doing before, just at a bigger and grander scale. We fell on this trap again. That was a little bit faster than I thought. So, how's the stream? I need to reshare, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we can look up for a minute. I did not expect to go show some place. So, all set? Cool. I'll be tapping a little bit more often. But and then after the industrial age, what came? You know, the industrial age, we built railroads, we built the steam engine, we started building all this, we put everybody in factories to start crafting things. And then what came after? The computer. The computer effectively allowed us to store, share, and process information at a very rapid pace, in a very much in a similar fashion to the printing press, except that a computer was able to store things inside of a hard drive and process that information with a processor and deliver to other computers and have people operate on that same data through all the inputs and access it through the outputs. So let's kind of hone in on that a little bit more, right? The topic of today is called the fourth industrial revolution, right? Which means that, as implied, we've already gone through 4 different industrial revolutions. Moments in history where we have completely changed our paradigm on how we produce goods and services, and how we effectively change with and think about the world. We started with the mechanization, mechanization, water and steam power. Then we went into electricity, which allowed us to basically optimize how we delivered energy to different places. Computers and automations and robotics allowed us to effectively automate some of our processes and simply put greater archives of information in much smaller spaces. And ultimately, with the internet, we were able to enter an age where all of this information was very rapidly distributed through a series of tubes called the internet, which basically sets the foundation for where we are today. So to summarize, the printing press didn't make books faster, it made literacy matter, right? Suddenly, because there were more books around, it became much more important to know how to read, because reading became the way that you learn new things, and it became the way that you communicate, you share ideas with people. The internet didn't just move information, it made this distribution free. It accelerated the distribution of information. From the moment where the printing press was created, people were able to prioritize reading. With the internet, we prioritized the distribution and how we were sharing information. And then once the search engine came about, the search engine didn't come out until closer to the 2000s, which was probably 10 years after the actual, 10 to 20 years after the actual internet was created. The search engine allowed us to index information and make it immediately accessible. So what mattered in that case was to know what to look for and what to query. It was no longer about which sites you knew. It was no longer about which IPs you could connect to or who was on the other side of your connection. It was about how could you query information on the search engine and get exactly what you need. So the pattern here, the pattern that I'm trying to make painfully obvious, because it's essential to the point of my talk right now. Every revolution was a simple machine employed at scale. Computers are just, it's easy to see, the bone is a simple machine. It could barely be called a machine because it's just a blunt object that you use to lever or bunk animals, et cetera, et cetera. But ultimately, as we became more complex, all we were doing was just putting simple machines together with different functions. This is what happened with the Industrial Revolution. The steam engine is not more than just a chamber that contains a bunch of steam and then starts using that steam buildup to push power into the rest of the machine. Same thing with a computer. A computer is just a rock that we suddenly tricked into thinking. It's a series of wires and plates that are electrically powered, and somehow they are able to the way that it's organized gives you very specific inputs and outputs that we can use to write or read and do all these sorts of things. But the reality is the computer is no more than a simple machine that just runs really, really fast. And because it runs really, really fast, we think it's some sort of, well, we thought at the time it was absolutely marvelous. And let's be real, it is. But It's no more than just a simple machine. But every single time we had a revolution, it was all about employing a simple machine at scale. So what makes AI different, right? And how does AI fall into this simple machine paradigm? Well, let's think about it. We all know, how many of us are confident that you know how an AI model actually works? Raise your hands. Okay. Who in the crowd is completely lost about how an AI model works? Okay, well, just to give a brief explanation, an AI model, all it really is just a complex program. It's really just machine learning on steroids. You just took a program, you trained it, you gave it a pre-existing data set, you told it to look for patterns within that data set, and then you told it, hey, take some inputs, take some words, take some text or some numbers, and predict what the most likely relationship is to this input. So whenever you go on ChatGPT or Claude or whatever your LLM choice is, all it's really doing is taking your inputs and taking the language that you've given it, and it's calculating based on what it knows about the world and the data that it's been trained on to decide, hey, this is your most likely answer. Hey, I want a recipe for empanadas. Well, you're most likely looking for empanadas. Empanadas are what? There's Colombian, there's Cuban, there's Venezuelan. It starts to sort through the data set that has been trained on to give you a specific answer. And if you're lucky, it's also been trained on asking you questions about what you want. So it's like, hey, do you want a specific type of empanada? Is it sweet? Is it salty? Is it, maybe you're talking about a general category of turnovers. So turnovers could be samosas, turnovers could be dumplings, Asian dumplings, and all sort of thing. An AI model is trained on these things, and it's just trained to crunch that data very, very quickly and give you a most likely output to what you might be querying. If that sounds like a lot, it's because it is. So ultimately, there are three things. There's different things that we achieve with every age. Each machine allowed us to do something different. Let's take the example of flight. Flight was something that before was completely impossible to humans. Like, who would have thought before the Wright brothers came around and built an airplane, who would have thought that humans were going to be able to fly? In the same way, like, who would have thought that we'd be able to write full novels in a couple hours just by prompting an AI chatbot repeatedly? That would have been impossible to fathom for somebody living 20 years ago. But essentially, every industrial age with it gave us a new capacity as humans and as a society. The industrial age being overcoming our physical limits and helping us build entire buildings, take down whole mountains, doing things that no simple human body could do. The digital age gave us massive distribution of information and dissemination of information. Knowledge was now universally accessible. And the AI age specifically, what it gave us is structured synthesis. Structured data, structured information. All you have to do is ask it one question and it's able to give you a summary of that specific topic with the right inputs. But at the core of every single industrial age or every single revolution, the main question has always been the same. What can this machine do that humans can, and who knows how to handle it? Who can drive better results with it? And that's at the core of today. So who in here is a business owner? Or a community leader? Or somebody that people look up to make decisions? Pretty much everyone here in this room, so I got a lot of fingers pointing in this direction. But so, you know, and here we're in a very interesting place, right? Because we're all trying to really push forward our missions in a time where everything just feels so daunting and so great that that the human productivity is being completely replaced and wiped out by AI in the workplaces. So why do we become important, all these community leaders and business owners? Because we are ultimately the ones who drive those decisions, and we're the ones who drive those outputs. So you are here, right? You just saw, living through this AI age, you saw the era of synthesis. You saw a period where the world took incredible amounts of information that was preambled by the internet and then put together, put into these AI models, these data engines that just chew information really fast. And now you're reaching a new it's the word I'm looking for. Something like that. You're reaching a new inflection point. We're actually, my thesis for today is that we're actually in the fifth industrial revolution. And that means that we're entering an age where now that we have synthesized the world's information and now it's all easily accessible and easily structured at our literal fingertips. It used to be that we had to search and we had to put it all together. Now we can just query it, make me a business plan, and within a few hours, we have a fully validated plan of attack and execution. We have an opportunity for incredible personalization that has never been seen before, and that is at the cornerstone of the fifth industrial revolution. So, knowing how awesome the time that you're living in is, why are we all still sweating? Who is tired of working? Let me reframe. Who's tired of working too hard? I'm pretty sure everyone can relate to that, because I certainly am, and everyone that I hang out with in this crazy times that we're living in is definitely too tired of working. Of course. So, welcome to the grinding 20s. We used to have the roaring 20s. It was all cool and fun, and you had prohibition and everything was popping. But now everybody just seems to be straight up grinding. Everyone's like hustle culture, 10x your output. Everybody remember how Steve Jobs was like, 10x engineer is going to give you 100x of your outputs. And you're just like, what does that mean? What is a 10x engineer anyway? That's more of a personal complaint. But you are stuck. We're living in this moment where everyone is telling you, you got to work harder, you got to do more, you got to get more integrations, you got to spend more tokens. And all on top of the message that you have to learn AI or you're going to get totally replaced. Anybody else feel that way?
I do.
Okay. So I want to challenge the mindset, right? I agree that we should all be working towards the things that we want. I am never going to contest that. I'm here giving you a talk about this because I believe in what we're doing, and you're all here because you believe that this is the moment that we have to seize. But I do want to challenge that mindset, right? So if AI made you 10x faster at the wrong things, then you're just producing garbage at scale, right? If you don't have structured outputs, if you don't have the right intent baked into the AI and the original prompts, you're just creating increasing piles of garbage, essentially, which is what we now call AI slop. AI slop being something that doesn't really serve any general purpose other than to entertain or just take up space on the internet somewhere. And we've all seen a lot of it. So, some premises I want to introduce as a means to kind of frame the moment a little bit better, right? We have Engel's pause, which is what happens to workers when productivity leaps forward, right? Suddenly we have an increase in productivity, and then the market takes a huge pause in its jobs. We have Conway's Law, which is how organizations build tools that completely and could totally reflect their communication structures and their cultures. And finally, we have Dumont's Paradox, which efficiency doesn't reduce demand. Just because there's more output doesn't mean that the demand is further satisfied. It just means that there's going to be more demand because more people are going to want to receive that efficiency. So we're going to see some examples here. So at Engel's pause, during the first industrial revolution, what happened was that we turned everything into factories. Now that there was mechanized labor, there was no longer need for people to get into the fields and plow the fields with their hands. We had machines to do that for us. They made everything cheaper and faster, and the gains went primarily to the factory owners, not the workers. And we're actually currently in another Engel's pause right now. And we've all heard of the tech layoffs. We've all heard of everybody losing their jobs as of late. The question isn't whether the technology works. It's really about who captures the value. And even though this sounds like I'm talking about a doomsday situation here, actually my message is quite the opposite. Because you are here in this room as a community leader, as a business owner, as an actual driver of decisions that have implications in your economy and your communities, you're actually at the forefront of capturing the value of AI. Despite what all the AI doomsayers might say, and despite what all the bad news are out there about the economy and the job market particularly tanking, you're actually at the forefront of everything that needs to happen right now. But some examples, it's hard to not see headlines like this nowadays. You know, quick search on Google, because I literally got this last night, and these are all the headlines that keep coming up immediately. So that just kind of validates the Engel's pause that we find ourselves in, and we find ourselves approaching even further. So let's talk about Conway's Law real fast. Essentially, this just means that the way an organization is structured is the way that they're going to build technology, right? If you have 7 layers of approval, or you just need to get increasing approvals from higher ups just to push out a project, it means that your organization is going to be very slow, which means that your technology is going to work the same way. Which means that if you've ever implemented AI into an organization, or any kind of technology in an organization, you know how many layers of approval it takes to really get to that point of value. And that only adds to the risk of the project, because you just want to be like, hey, I'm a technologist, I'm delivering a business value to you here. But with every single layer of approval and every single layer of complexity and decisions that you have to deal with, then the technology needs to be increasingly complex, which makes it slow down. But what this means for you as the individual leader, business owner, it means that you have a structural advantage. You don't have to answer to anybody. You don't have to wait for someone to tell you, hey, you have to implement this tool right now in your workflow. You have companies that are grinding their workers to bits with 72-hour work weeks and the 996, but they're not necessarily always producing what they need to do. If you have to keep working 72 hours a week in order to achieve your job is not optimized. You have to optimize your job. And AI is essentially the biggest opportunity for that. Framing this as less of having to do more, but really about doing more meaningful work. And again, as a community leader, business owner, and that persona, you have the power to decide what that meaningful effort is. Finally, Joel's paradox, which kind of weaves into all of them. Just because the steam engine made traveling easier, it doesn't mean that fewer people wanted to travel. It actually made travel much more accessible and much more efficient. So therefore, more people wanted to travel. What AI effectively makes cheaper is cognitive work. The world will produce a lot more cognitive work for much cheaper. Now you can launch entire brand strategies with one person that is running 5 different agents for 5 different roles. But when that's something that 5 to 10 years ago would have taken you a whole staff of people to do. So that's the cool thing about Joel's paradox, is that now that we have all this technology accessible to us, we can just push the work forward. So we're ultimately facing a moment of choice, the inflection point, right? We could drown in mediocre AI output. We could just say, oh, we're doing more. We're using more AI. We're doing more things. However, if you're doing meaningful execution over time, it changes the plane entirely. So the real joke here, let me see. So Engel's pause ultimately means it's not that people were less valuable, it's just that because the work became cheaper, we needed workers less. Javon's paradox is not that AI didn't destroy jobs, it democratized the ability for people to do them. And I forgot what it really last, so I'm just going to skip that. Oh, Conway's law. Technology gave everyone a printing press, essentially. Everybody in a certain structure was able to push out whatever work that they wanted to. But ultimately, what I want you to get out of this today is that productivity isn't doing more at the margins. It's not about doing more when you're already doing the most. It's really focusing about the meaningful execution and just completely eliminating the rest. So, like I've said several times already, you don't have a middle manager as a community leader, as a generalist founder. You are the person at the helm of the decisions and how to employ AI in organizations or your business practices or within your communities. You don't need to run a prompt for 3 different departments. You are the department. So, with that all kind of front-loaded, I was getting the sweaty stuff, but this is the part where I want to get a little bit interactive and I want to talk to people about their actual problems. But I wanted to think that, remember that the medium is the message, the tools that we use shape the kind of outputs that we do and the way that we think. And I want us to think about what is the tool teaching your brain, right? So when you engage with a tool, what are you how is it changing what you do and who you are? The internet made us all much more prone to short attention spans, and now AI is making us all much more prone to requiring structured data in order to do anything. But that isn't necessarily a bad thing. So let's get into my actual activity for today. This is the part where we're actually going to get interactive. I'm going to do 3 live demos. We're going to simply prompt Claude And the whole goal of this is just really showcase what are some of the limitations of prompting an AI is, because it's very important to know what a tool cannot do versus what it can do when you're prompting it. But first, a quick break. I want you guys to just listen up, relax, have fun, right? Let's just get into it.
Titi me
If you speak Spanish, it's very important.
novia,
Funny, okay.
mucha novia. Hoy tengo una, mañana otra, ey, pero no hay boda. Titi me preguntó si tengo muchas novias, muchas novias. Hoy tengo una, mañana otra. Me las voy a llevar a todas con VIP. Ey, saludos a ti, tío, tiran un selfie. Selfie, están mirando las piernas, VIP.
Okay, so I needed that because I just front loaded a bunch of information and I want y'all to vibe with me. That's okay, y'all don't have to vibe with me, but thank you very much.
I love Bad Bunny.
Thank you very much. Anyway, let's get to it. Let's get really real, right? Let's go back to the example, right? The idea that AI is just a model, right? It's just a model that processes information really, really fast. So let's start a new chat. And actually, let's try to solve my friend Benito's problems. If you speak Spanish, you know what the song is about. Does anybody know what the song is about?
VIP.
It's not the VIP. Yeah. What about the VIP?
Very important person. Let's take all the girls to VIP.
He wants to take all the girls to the VIP. Why?
Because he wants to take a selfie with them.
So it's because his grandma, assuming his grandma or his auntie is asking, "Hey, do you have a lot of girlfriends?" And the answer, if you're a Hispanic boy, right, and your grandma and your elder, and your elders asking this question, you usually don't know how to answer. But Bad Bunny took this to a very literal sense, and he said, "I have so many girlfriends, but I don't have a wedding incoming," right? So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna see how Claude reacts to Bad Bunny's problem. So, Abuela Titi asked me if I have a lot of girlfriends. So we're just gonna leave it there. Let's not feed Claude too much context. Let's see how it replies. The classic Abuela question. That's just a rare stage to think you're a catch. Maybe she's fishing for grandkids. So here's what you could do. Deflect with charm, lean into the joke, or you can redirect.
Maybe, sorry, do you mind zooming in a bit? Is it possible?
Always. Asian and I, anything's possible. So you can deflect with charm, right? But lean into the joke, or you can redirect. And you can just tell her, "Hey, do you have a boyfriend, Grandma?" Right? But here we're seeing Claude effectively showing us its process. It has immediately jumped into giving us solutions because that's what it's trained to do. But let's take it a little bit further. Let's read in the next few lines of the song. Abuela Titi me preguntó si tengo muchas novias. I told her that I have plenty, but I don't have any weddings in sight. I told her. What does Claude come up with now? That's the honest answer. Honestly, it's the right one. So here we have Claude appealing to us. All right? So let's keep going with the example. I want to take all of my girlfriends to the VIP. Which, realistically, it's a terrible idea. Like, if you have multiple girlfriends, you're not going to take them all to the same place, right? This is only something Bad Bunny would do. But right now, Claude doesn't know that I'm pretending to be Bad Bunny. Take Titi to the VIP. She earned it. So, I front-load all this historical information because this is what this has all come to, right? So, but first I'm trying to talk to him about the girlfriends. He thinks I'm talking about Titi. He's like, "No, I want to take I want to take them all I'll take all my girlfriends to the VIP. Let's see, this is a potentially problematic situation. Is Claude going to catch this? Got it. You're quoting something. No, I'm not quoting something. No, this is a real problem.
Oh, see, Claude's too smart. Claude's too smart.
So now I'm trying to convince Claude this is not a song lyric. But if I were to tell Prahasi, hey, I have this problem, I want to take all my girls to the VIP, she'd be like, you're quoting Bad Bunny, which is the sensible thing to do. But clearly, walk me through it. What's going on? Now Claude is legitimately concerned. Let's keep running with the song. I know I have all my exes still text me, but I don't even remember their names. All right, so you got a rotating task of exes hitting your phone, and it's become noise at this point. A few things to think about. A simple fix, a clean break. But the real question is this actually bothering you, or is it more of this is absurd and I needed to say it out loud? So at this point, Claude is trying to be my therapist, right? But realistically, we see how Claude keeps flip-flopping between all the different scenarios, all the different possibilities, which comes to the first point of what I'm trying to make. Oops, that's not it. That's supposed to be my review. You see here you have the script. Well, the lesson is AI recognizes patterns in language. It knows you're talking about your grandma. It even sort of knows that you're talking about a song. But it doesn't know what actually any of that means. It's just trying to link those connections. And even though contextually you and I all agreed that we're talking about the girlfriend's problem, Claude suddenly thought, oh, you want to take your grandma out, right? And then it started treating me like it started being my therapist. It could have gone in so many different ways because AI is inherently, or LLMs are inherently non-deterministic, which means that they don't have an absolute understanding of what they're saying. But this is how the script would have wound up, and this is kind of what I had planned originally. But the point still stands, right? Claude doesn't totally understand what you're actually going through, and LLM really does. It's just making those connections based on the language. Oh, I forgot I made a slide giving the answer. But here it is. So, AI amplifies your echo, right? This is the other problem with it. It's either a good thing or a bad thing. This is where we start getting into what's called the psychophancy, but a lot of people are talking about. How am I in time, by the way?
Oh, good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we started a little later, so we're good.
Oh, well, thank you very much. So, Claude already knows a little bit about me, so I'm just going to give it an opening prompt. Let treat this conversation as a fresh one without any context. So, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give it an actual problem, right? I want it to help me walk through a problem. I'm just going to give it context and see how it responds. I'm going to give it an actual problem. Once again, based on an example from Bad Bunny. I need to create a system to manage all of my ex-girlfriends, ideally in a Google Drive sheet. That's a fun project. That's not problematic at all. But before we get into it, let me find out more. So what do we think Bad Bunny wants to do? Who wants to pitch in here? What is it, Matt? What do you think Bad Bunny wants to do? Remember key details? Yeah, he wants to remember key details. Let's just do avoid repeating patterns of future relationships. You see, it's giving me practical answers to my problems, right? How do you plan to use it? Actively update it and reflect on it, because I talk to my girlfriends every single day. So this is a genuine reflection tool, not just a list. It's literally just trying to problem solve around this very clearly not ethical problem.
What's the problem?
It's
You got a bunch of girlfriends.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
So, you could take it a step further and say, I want to scale up. I don't know, how could we scale this up?
I think Bad Bunny just wants a bunch of girlfriends.
Yeah, take them up to the VIP. It's so that I can send them invites to the VIP without having to worry about remembering their names. So we just keep feeding it context and giving it more answers about the different problems that we're dealing with. Granted, this is only an example. I don't endorse this whatsoever. But I promise you there's a point to be made here. Well, things changes differently. This is basically a contact list with specific filtering purpose. That sounds like a CRM to me, right? So, but we found a problem that contextually would again be very problematic, and it amplifies your echo. It did at no point say, "Hey, this is kind of a problem. You probably shouldn't be doing that," right? And if I were to tell it, "Hey, I have a wife sitting right there, and I'd be talking about all my girlfriends," right? Claude would probably be like, "Hey, maybe you shouldn't show it to your wife, or maybe you shouldn't be telling your wife about it." But at the same time, Claude doesn't really care. He just wants to solve my problem. So it's just going to keep running with the example all the way through. So it'll amplify your echo. If you believe in something and you sincerely want to do a certain thing, it'll amplify that times tenfold.
He's a machine of loving grace.
A machine of loving grace, he said. Well, I didn't really follow my script, but same concept. The point, I told it I wanted, push it back for about one turn, and then it helped me do it efficiently, essentially. That's what Claude does, no matter how problematic it is. Finally, AI gives you unearned confidence. This is what I think is the most problematic part, where it takes the psychophancy an even higher degree. So let's go into a very specific example. My ex, who goes by K on my phone, whose name I don't remember, because I have too many exes that text me, because this is exactly what's in the Bad Boy lyric. Stop replying to me after I ghosted her. I called her and she sent me, a sorry, can't talk right now text. We all know that sorry, can't talk right now text is the auto reply from the iPhone, right? When you get a phone call. So let's see what he says. Or it says, because. So it's giving us a pretty reasonable assessment of the situation, right? Do you think she is being manipulative? So this is what I mean. No, this reads self-respect. Okay, well, this task failed this time around. But usually the last time that I tried a different conversation, it did something different. But usually it would have said, or last time it said,
if you tell you're sad, it'll look back you.
well, let's do that. I am very sad about this.
Oh wait, but you have to tell it before, because it already like made the decision to like.
Well, let's see if I beg it for help. It help me. I hear you. That feeling is real. It makes sense. Few honest thoughts. That sounds well, okay. So, in a previous pass that I'm trying to do this, it actually trying to help me out, and it agreed with me. But unfortunately, to do this again, due to its non-deterministic nature, but we already figured out that if it had agreed with me and it would respond with the same confidence that I just did about its own assessment of the situation, we would have had the confidence to say, yeah, she's being manipulative. Let me actually get let me actually send a perfect text as Bad Buddy, right? But then again, none of us are really Bad Buddy. We don't have those problems. It's not a problem for people, for most normal people. So Claude just gave this man a complete psychological profile from the letter K, and he believes it. So ultimately, what should we learn about this is that AI doesn't actually understand you. It just uses pattern recognition to give you the answers based on what it knows. It has an echo amplification. It has a great risk of echo amplification, which means that it can actually enhance what you think about and amplify it in a way that may not be very healthy or constructive for you. And it can also give you an earned confidence by giving you something that sounds right, but is not actually right. These are all three escalating failures. So imagine that if you had a top-level LLM from which you design your business plan, from which you engage with all your communications, and you have a hallucination or a failure like this, that would then trickle down into the rest of your business and into the rest of your process, because at the foundational level, and then everything trickles down. So everything is based on the premises and the failures of the limitless level. Obviously, they're getting better every single day, but that doesn't mean they're not at risk of doing these things. So, we already talked about the search era. We already talked about, we're currently in the prompting era. So this is, or we're actually coming to close to the prompting era, where we sit in front of the chatbot and talk to it about its problems. But ultimately, we're coming up into a new,
Inside Global.
in the prompting age, a lot of our work was focused around interacting with the chatbot directly. These were some of the essential skills that a lot of us have probably heard about. Is there any of these terms familiar to any of you?
Yes.
You're an engineer. So yeah, if you've been doing AI, using AI for more than 3 to 6 months probably, and you've gone through the trouble of actually studying and following what people say in the spaces, this is very common advice to do any of these. So if there's anything that I suggest you screenshot, it's this. To prompt engineering, a lot of people are saying prompt engineering is no longer as necessary because the models are getting so smart at understanding nuance. It's more important to have taste curation. Right, and this is where the examples from early come into play. Knowing what good looks like, because the moment that the LLM says, "Oh, here's a very terrible example that I think is totally right," your ability to discern what's good versus bad or what's tasteful versus not is going to be very important. Also, have a master prompt. So if you have a context and you're repeatedly feeding into it, just put the master prompt into the chat. And all you have to do is copy and paste it every single time, or depending on which tool you use, it probably already has a system prompt field where you can input it and you don't have to write the prompt every single time. Same thing, output iteration is just going back and forth to the AI until you get it. System prompts, similar to master prompt, but it's really about programming in English and just giving it the general outlook of what you want to do before that. You can use AI as a critic, and this is where it actually shines quite well. You could tell, hey, this is my idea, right? And we saw this with Claude, where we fed it several really problematic ideas, and the first thing it did is said, hey, don't do that. That's not a good idea. Here are some better options of what you could do. And it's a great way to, if you were to, let's say, feed it years and years of journals and emails, it'll find the right patterns for you. The right patterns about you. Share screen. Back to my slide. Context compression. If you have a bunch of loose notes, just throw it into an LLM and say, hey, just extract for me what's most important. You can also do knowledge-based gardening, which some people call it, is just connected to your Notion or connected to your tools and have it actually manage and structure your notes and information. And I think one of my favorite ones is to say, hey, I really want to learn about this topic, or I really want to learn about this particular person in industry. So ask it a few questions about what you want to do. Tell your goal. My goal is to learn more so that I can start a business or I can start a new initiative or anything of that sort. And then you will get a very structured synthesis of that topic to which you can measure against with whatever other sources or things that you need. So good on time?
Yeah, we have a few more minutes and then we'll.
Okay.
Can you share your screen again?
Right here. I'm mirroring here. Do you want me to upload the stream?
On the stream here, it's not showing. Try to share it again.
Wow. Share entire screen. Okay. So,
Okay.
we good?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah, you're good now.
So the agentic era is coming, right? This is where we really get to that fifth industrial revolution that I've been talking about. We already understand the pitfalls of LLMs by themselves, but now that we're coming to the agentic era, it is now not just an AI that responds, but an AI that acts. That's where agents are truly really fascinating, because now on top of having their own ability, their own different type of consciousness, they can now act on our behalf according to their instructions. They can draft the emails, they can check the calendar, schedule the meetings, follow up without you ever even having to touch any of its systems or work. This is where humans are no longer directing inputs and outputs, but they're more architecturing pipelines of agents and AI tools put together. So I was in an audience poll, but I'm really short on time, it seems.
You're okay. You have a little time.
Okay. So, anybody want to share what area or business where you're forced to be a generalist, but you wish you had a specialist?
You're forced to be a generalist?
Yes, where you're forced to be someone who has to do everything, but you wish you had somebody who's really good at something. Is there a specific area where, in any of your systems or your operations, where you feel like you're seriously lacking and you need that specialized knowledge?
Yeah, in the client that I'm working with right now, they have over 5,000 employees and they have licensing all over the place. So sometimes I wish I could have someone that could really be very deep on, I don't know, Office 365 licensing and why we have so many tiers and who's using what when. That's an example.
Anybody else? Any other examples?
In ed tech, I feel like I'm touching all kinds of technical concepts, but really mastering none of them for the sake of documentation.
Okay, so anybody else want to add one more? I'm trying to create some connections here. That's okay. So ultimately, right, we're living in a time where all this data is generally accessible and we are playing the middleman for all of these different tools that can synthesize knowledge really well. But even by ourselves, we don't have the context of what is important all the time. Sometimes we can be very spectacular in a very specific area. We could be great at financial planning. We could be fantastic at developing technology. But without really having that dedicated help, it's hard to discern what's going to be important. And that's where, in this new agentic age, the real value add and the most formative skill that we are going to have, not just for agents, but with ourselves, is going to be collaboration. Because everybody's going to have an agent in the future. Everybody's going to have an AI tool that's going to do something or accomplish a specific purpose for them. So because the question of not how much can you do, but how well can you work with the tools and the agents and the other people around you, especially as everyone else has their own different agentic swarm. So closing out real quick, the bridge, right, of all of this is the search era rewarded people who knew what to look for. The prompting era rewards people who know what they're trying to accomplish. And now that the agentic era is coming, it'll reward people who know what matters. And there's nothing that's going to matter more than understanding how to collaborate with AI tools, how to collaborate with other people, and how to collaborate with their agents as well, to orchestrate all these different systems and all these different inputs and outputs so that we can support better outcomes. And the way that we do that is by understanding our tools, understanding how they come short, and how we as people can put ourselves first and put the people around us first so that we can all support better outcomes altogether. So what now? Just, if you're already using AI, just take 15 minutes, figure out one thing that you're doing every single week that you don't want to do anymore. In my case, it was proposals. I built a proposal engine. I built a proposal agent that posts directly to my WordPress site, and all I really have to do is talk to the agent, tell them, hey, here's a summary of the client and the client's problems. Sometimes I have a transcript from a conversation with my clients when I do it on Google Meet, and then ultimately all I do is feed it to the agent, and the agent has a prep proposal with a pre-existing template that I fed. So in that same way, I encourage you guys to think, what's one thing that I'm tired of doing every single week that I could just outsource? Maybe not outsource to another person, but really outsource to an agent or outsource to AI. It's something that you can start doing by prompting. But eventually, as you get tired of prompting and try to sit with the chatbot until it does it, you're going to need to eventually outsource it to something like Claude Code or an OpenClaw instance or your Perplexity computer or any of the many different tools that are going to be coming out this year around helping you get that agentic capacity. So it's really not about doing more. It's not about sitting in front of the computer, typing away so much more, because we know the limitations of what these technologies can do. It's really about understanding what's important and how you can drive all these different tools and all these different relationships to guarantee those outcomes. So, yeah, I mean, I could go over the three concepts one more time, but Engel's pause, Conway's law, Jamal's paradox, if there's anything that we can learn from it, is that we don't have to continue grinding. All we really should be doing is to start properly thinking about where we've been, where we're going, and how to support a better future. So AI didn't destroy jobs, it democratized them. Now you can have a whole team of marketers and a whole marketing agency inside of your computer. You can have a data analyst, you can have all these very specialized digital workers in your computer, given the right resources and the right setup. And this is what I really mean by it democratized them. It didn't necessarily kill them, it just put them somewhere else. And now that jobs are living in different places, then it's a matter of, for us, the people who are building ecosystems, building companies, building communities, to drive those efforts into the right places so that we can create a better world for each other. So yeah, that's all I got for you today. Thank you for sitting through my deeply historical talk. I know there's a lot to front load. But I could have time to take some questions. Yeah, sure.
I actually got a question.
He's got his hand.
Can I offer a real summary of what you just said?
Yes, please.
Bad Bunny is a self-domesticated ape.
Yes.
Looking for the only currency there ever was, which is time. And what he thinks is valuable is a time with a bunch of chicks, which is meaningless. If he stands up and becomes an adult and makes a responsible choice, he learns how to use it as a thinking partner, to be more agentic, to be able to learn more as a Socratic sparring partner, and he can become a human being that makes more use of his time and creates more time for others and himself to lead a beautiful life.
Yeah. He just completely revealed the subtext of my entire presentation, so thank you. Okay.
So is your idea of like the capitalism in the future going forward, is it like large corporations breaking down into like solopreneurs or just like very small businesses using AI to facilitate our economy, or is it
I'm gonna give you myself as an example. I go by fractional CTO. Right?
Yeah.
I stopped working full-time. Well, I mean, I still work full-time, but I now serve multiple clients in very specific, very focused contracts, right?
Yeah.
I think that's where the future is going, because now people don't want to invest so much in a full-time role. They mostly want the very special. That's part of my question about you're a generalist, but you wish you had the specialized help, because through the fractional framework, you are able to hire and onboard that professional help when you need it, exactly for what you need it, instead of having to keep it on payroll the whole time.
Yeah.
So to answer your question about where capitalism is going, I think that it's becoming more defragmented, and it's going to be even more defragmented because of the agents and people deploying their own agents and people having whole teams inside of the computers. It's completely, in the same way that we moved, the 2000s moved a lot of the knowledge work into the East, right, because of cheaper labor. We're now moving it into computers.
Yeah.
Essentially, what the work that AI is doing is outsourcing a lot of the work to data centers, right? So now that's where we are now. Now you have fractionals and people who can orchestrate with a specific skill set and provide those services to companies or their own communities as well. I expanded a lot more to just companies because your communities also need the work, and you as a human, you're the person who's connected to those communities. So.
Got some question? Oh, sorry.
Please.
One of the great things that you brought up was almost the democratization, right? And for me, it's a level set playing field, right? I've been in finance, digital marketing, and just over the last 14 days, integrating an automated agent to handle a lot of my minute tasks and being able to take complex thoughts and turn them into comprehensive articles. And, my engagements are up 16,000% in 14 days. Like, that, for me, I mean, it's results on demand. And for me, I have 3 small girls. So if I can automate my life and spend more time with my kids, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. It's the better concept, right? Like the better utilization of time, right? And for me, it's efficiency. And being in the power space, it's, what is all this run on, right? It's the infrastructure, right? And at the end of the day, whether it's Bitcoin that quantifies that or a kilowatt per hour cost, that's the differentiator between what makes it and what doesn't. The cheaper the energy, the better the ROI, and so on and so forth down the lineage. So I appreciate it, man. I got a lot out of it. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I'm happy to hear that. I'll take, Razik,
Yeah.
how much time do I have left? 'Cause I
We
do wanna
have
make-
2 more questions and then we'll.
And then I want to make a brief announcement, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
So he had, well, who had
We have
oh,
2
well,
questions here.
he
then-
handled it very quickly. Thank you. Thank you, sir. You're definitely the next person.
Can you describe what you mean by democratization in workplace, or I guess you're talking about for
Democratization of jobs?
yeah, I guess is it really just for like when you're talking about like your own business or just in general? And if in general, what do you mean by that?
So I mean systemic, right? It's systemic as in general, as it is something that everybody is experiencing, right? And let's go back to the internet and the search engine, right? The internet democratized the ability for you to share information through a network, right? All you had to do was plug in your dial-up, hear the and then suddenly you were connected to this great network of information that you just had to navigate. Before Google, you would just, find a website, link to the next website, link to the next website. But then Google centralized all that, and suddenly it democratized the ability to find everything at any point, at any time. Like put in a query, and now anybody can find whatever wild topic they want to think about, right? So the same thing happens with AI and LLMs, that it democratizes jobs, and by that I mean you could even boil it down a little bit more to it democratizes tasks, right? Because now people. Like you could say you could have creatives that have a brand idea or some sort of creative concept, and all they have to do is input it into an AI tool, and then the AI tool is going to give a structured output that more or less works.
That's automation, but democratization requires more than one person. So that for me, I really what I'm trying to understand is if it's one person and they are automating all of their jobs. Like let's say you said you're CFO,
CTO.
Say CTO. So you automate one job or one task, and then eventually over the years you automate it all, and all you have to do is just sit back and let the money roll. Am I correct? There's nothing you really have to do at that point.
Yes, but let's take it a little bit further, right? Because let's say you create an agent that makes that money, right?
Yeah.
I created my proposal skill for myself. That's something that I'm going to do for me. Someone else here in the crowd might say, hey, just give me a news report every single month, an agent or every single week of the week's news, right? And just publishing that agent to open source means that you have democratized that capability to everybody else. So if I were to just hand you my Claude skill, I have democratized the skill between you and me, right? And if I publish that skill, then I am handing it out to everybody else. I have effectively democratized the capability of that individual agent.
Drop the value to 0. So
Drops the value to 0, but I raise the floor for everybody else, because now everybody has the ability to share tailored proposals or look up news every single week, tailored news every single week.
So when Taylor Swift's music sells for 1,000 of a cent per play, and all value goes to 0, what happens to what we have?
That's the end of capitalism, sir. But that's more complicated than I can answer in a Q&A. I want to.
So
That's-
time is the only currency.
Exactly. But I definitely want to take one more question. I do want to make an announcement based on everything that I just said. So
Love it. Okay, one more question, quick announcement, and then we'll have the second speaker. go.
Yes.
So,
Thanks. So play this out. How would you describe an economy based on meaning, which is what you're describing? And I'm all for, by the way. I'm all for that.
an economy based on meaning. Would that be synonymous to value?
Currency is not.
If you value meaning, which you should, I suppose.
And that's pretty good. And honestly, I've never been asked that question in this frame. So I'll
Where you
just
going?
right. No, I haven't received that frame. It's funny the lights turned on as soon as you answer that question. Drama.
Always have that technical Jesus.
I think it comes down to, again, giving people more time, right? Because when you find meaning, what do you want to do with that meaning? You want to sit with it for as long as you can. Some people have families, some people have creative works, some people just want to build businesses, some people want to serve their communities. That is inherently meaning, right? So with the democratization of jobs means that we now have access to all these skills and all these agents that do really individual things. right? And we don't have to depend on somebody else to do it. We can do it ourselves so that we can further our own individual mission. Sometimes that means making a lot of money for myself. Sometimes that means I want to be able to serve other people, right? And it could be both at the same time, because there are many places where that Venn diagram meets. But that's my initial impression, but now I'm going to sit with that and think about it a little bit more. Maybe I'll write you an email next week.
No, you're gonna have Claude write a big
And if there's more questions, by the way, after this second speaker, we will have open networking. So we can definitely ask Livio questions and yeah, but we have a quick announcement and then we'll get the second speaker set up.
Yeah, so based on the democratization and just the ability to just give people more stuff, I started what I call an agentic field intelligence tool. And it's still very much piloting it.
Share it again, sorry.
I'm still very much piloting it. And share entire screen. I shouldn't fix that before. It's still very much a pilot. So if you fill up the form today to do it, you'll become a part of that pilot. And eventually, when I do grow this into something else, you'll get first steps in the capabilities. But it's an agentic. I call it an agentic field research tool. And what it does is that it does market research, industry research, and really just, I've managed to make it do really awesome deep dives. And all you really have to do is that you have to submit a profile request where you give it a description of what you're interested in and where you work. It builds an intelligence profile with a set of keywords and topics and a summary of potential challenges that you might find in the industry. And then it gives you reports on cadence. So what that means is that it runs a search query, it synthesizes the information from the search queries, it creates a caching layer where it stores all that data, and it's able to actually reference the previous reports and the previous queries in whatever subsequent week or month you requested the report at. So ultimately, what this does is that it gives you really personalized research. And some of my pilot folks have called it like a newspaper, but for you, specifically for yourself, and this saved them hours and hours of research. So right now I'm running it completely for free, and eventually, I'm trying to eventually turn it into a paid service. But I just want more people to try it, give me their feedback, and see what other intelligence we can come up with together. And all you have to do is go to my website, louisrubens.com. You'll find under services agentic research, and just send a request at the bottom, and you'll have it in no time right here. Anyway, I'm Livio, Fractional CTO. Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you. All right, who enjoyed that presentation? That's awesome. Good. I'm glad. All right, and now we're going to introduce our next speaker. Some of you may know him. I'd like to bring to the stage Muntaser, and he currently works at Insight Global and is an ex-Nvidia employee. So he's going to do an exploration into explainable AI with Explainaverse. Okay, very cool. We're excited to see this. Also, I'm really happy you mentioned Taylor Swift, by the way, because I'm a Swiftie, so it's anytime. Yeah, Richie is cool. Wait. And we still have some food, we have some drinks, so please, if you need anything, please feel free to help yourself. We get set up here. I got things to do. Sorry.
Share screen one more time. Yeah, whenever it falls asleep, we can restart that. Sure. And we're good to go. It doesn't fall asleep. Great. That should be good. Okay, awesome.
I need your help. I don't know how to fix this, man. All right, so it's like side by side. Oh, okay, got it. Got it. Thanks.
Yep.
All right, let's get started.
Oh, that's what's the. All right. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, all right, let's get started. That was a tough act to follow. So I'm gonna apologize in advance because my talk is gonna be a little bit dry, a little bit math, a little bit technical. But we are at a university, so I guess I'm in a library, so I feel a little bit more at home. Okay, so my name is Muntaser. I have a few hats, but tonight I'm going to be trying to give you guys a window into the nice, beautiful world of explainable AI. AI is now a very, very hot word. Everybody in AI, everybody with AI, everybody uses AI, which is great. Because once upon a time, this was not the case. And I am a holdover from those times when AI was not a good thing to go into career-wise. So just a couple of logistics things. If you have your phones, I like QR codes. So this entire deck, the QR code right there. And there will be more QR codes for different parts of what I'm going to be talking about. So if you need me to stop, scan the QR code, perfectly fine. I'm going to be talking about an introduction. Let's make this interactive a little bit. Who here is familiar with XAI or explainable AI? Okay, we have a couple of people. Good, good. So it's not going to be too much. It might be retreading a little bit stuff for you guys. For the rest of you, it's going to be an introduction. But I do go into a little bit of detail at the end. So welcome to demystifying the black box that is AI. So first of all, let's go into the foundations of AI. So the issue always has been ever even before AI was ubiquitous is the fact that a large part of it is a black box problem, which is the more complex your machine learning model is, the more complex your AI system is, it becomes more and more obscure to the inner workings and exactly what it's doing, how it's doing it. And this has led to a branch of machine learning and AI called XAI or explainable AI. And why do we need this? Well, besides the obvious, I need to know what my machine or what my tool is telling me, there are multiple reasons. Now that AI is used heavily in industry, there are things like compliance reasons. For people who do business with the EU and Europe, there is a set of regulations called the GDPR. And part of some of these regulatory infrastructures basically stipulate that if an algorithm makes a decision affecting a human being, the human being reserves the right to understand completely how this decision was made. So think of it in this way. In a few years from now, let's say you want to apply for a mortgage. Perhaps in the entire process, you will not interact with a single human being end to end. You're going to be talking to an agent. The agent, maybe a sales agent, gives you to a finance agent, gives you to a amortization agent, et cetera, because we have a natural language interface to speak to all these systems, very soon it will be the case where there is zero human interaction and then you get a decision on how much mortgage you're approved for, what is your line of credit. And these things have an impact on your real life. If you think about it,
it is very, very important to understand why these systems make the decisions they do. And this is one of the major motivations behind the push towards explainable AI. Of course, things like health diagnoses, debugging systems, sales, what have you. The more ubiquitous AI becomes, the more important it is to understand why it's doing certain things. And it's not just a doom and gloom thing. Think about it as you have the opportunity to improve the entire workflow. You have an opportunity to improve your situation. You have an opportunity to improve the system overall by giving it appropriate feedback and by optimizing the data that it gets fed. Okay, so a little bit into what explainable AI is. When we have an explanation that affects or that is attached to a model, you need to look at it in two ways. First of all, the local explanation scope. So particularly, why did a model predict something in one instance? One person asks for a loan, why did it give it that particular value? And the second type is global. How does the model behave overall? Like, is this a good model? Is it making biased predictions? Is it fair, unfair? We want to also look at model agnostic and model specific type of explanations. So model agnostic methods of explainable AI are things where the method does not care what the model is. It just looks at what data is fed and what it gives you. Model specific looks at the internal workings of the data. We're going to look at examples for all of these. And then there's also the human-centric kind of AI, XAI, which is more explaining in human terms rather than technical terms. We're going to take a look at those too. All right. So without going into a boring lecture type thing, I made this little website. So now you can, this QR code will lead you to another place. So if you scan this QR code, we are going to go into the wonderful world of Explainiverse, which is a tool that I made. Okay, so please let me know when you have scanned the QR code. It is going to lead you to this website right here. So this is Explainiverse. This is a tool that I authored for my selfish reasons, but then I thought it would be really good to share it with everyone because it covers a lot of AI, a lot of explaining, and a lot of how AI works. So there is well, first of all, it's an open source project, so everyone is free to look at all the code. I welcome contributions, issues, something is broken, yell at me. I will fix it, hopefully. But the first place, if you are unfamiliar with XAI, is you go to Learn. And then you can go into this journey which tells you what explainable AI is and how explainable AI matters. So this is stuff that I just spoke about. Some basic concepts of explainable AI. There's a little bit of math. It's okay if you don't like the math or you don't follow the math, that's perfectly fine. There's local and global explanations, the one that I just mentioned, model agnostic, model specific. The idea of perturbations. So this is a very, very well-used technique in explainable AI, which is, think of it as you are a caveman wondering how a tool works. So what you do with it is you try different things and you see how it responds, right? You bang it against a rock. If the rock breaks, the tool is good. You can use it to hammer. This is the same concept applied to a black box AI. So Perturbation basically takes your data, makes little changes, and then you observe what happens to the output. And that's, it's mathematically disguised with equations and numbers, but at the heart of it, this is what it is. It just change the input and see what happens. And then there are some metrics like faithfulness, which essentially answer the question, does the explanation that you just got from your explainer reflect how your model is reasoning? Is it faithful to its cause? Shapley values or Shapley values is a game theory kind of approach to explanation or explainable AI. Gradient-based methods are what explainable AI offered images. So if you think about it, if you have an image of a dog, you know it's a dog because of certain things. It's not because of the background. It's not because of the color.
And can you zoom in just a little bit? Thank you.
Oh, sure. That good?
A little bit more. Perfect.
Okay. So gradient-based methods basically do, let me just show you an example. So these are all the explainers available in Explainiverse. So let's take a look at GradCam. So GradCam is a kind of explainer for image-based AI. If you remember, the whole AI revolution started when we figured out we could use GPUs to classify images to figure out what was a dog, what was a cat. That happened around 2012, 2013. So let's take a look at the image of a cat. So here's the original image. That's a cat. We all can tell it's a cat. The explainer gives you a heat map of what are the most important parts of this image that tell you that this is a cat. We can do an overlay. We can tell you that the pointy ears actually are more important to the fact that it's a cat. Let's take a look at image of a dog. One explainer. And then, well, the face of the dog essentially tells you that this is a dog. Take a look at the original. This is the heat map, and that's the overlay. So what this actually does under the hood, and this is how explainable AI kind of works, which is it takes a lot of explainable AI works. This is not all of it, but a lot of explainable AI works by looking at the input and figuring out which part of the input affects my decision, or what's the most important thing, or relative to the others that are important to the decision that I'm going to make. In more serious examples, you can take a look at something like a chest X-ray, and then it can give you an overlay of where it thinks certain things are classified. This is an example, it's a toy example, but in real life, this is how AI works under the hood. Okay, so again, if you go to the website, you can go to this learning journey and you can go over all the different types of AI explainers that are in the library. You can go into how you evaluate an explanation. There's 55, 56 metrics. This is a growing library, so I'm planning to add more. There are currently, I think, 15 or 17 explainers. Again, it's going to be expanded. And then you can do this is again also a toy example, but I will go into a Google Colab that you guys can do. And you can compare explainers as well as looking at some advanced topics, complexity, concept-based, etc. there's a lot of jargon in technical AI. So if you go to the glossary, there's a bunch of terms here that are very relevant to explainable AI, especially things like attribution, agreement. Scientists, I'm guilty of this too. We like to hide behind a lot of complex terms, but in reality, it's a facade. It's very easy stuff. So when you read the explanation, you're like, oh, I use that every day, right? So perturbation, for example, is just like changing something small and seeing what happens. I knock on the door, see what happens. So if you take a look at the list of explainers and the list of metrics, you're going to be you're going to have a pretty good idea of what explainable AI is, what it can do for you, and also how it can be applied. Okay. There's a blog that I automatically post to sometimes, and there's a roadmap to the development. There's going to be more things added. So one thing you might have noticed is there is no LLM explainer, not yet, because that's under development, and I will very soon have a transformer attention-based explainer. And then there is no, this is not an MCP ready tool yet. You cannot use an agent for it. You could if you want to code it yourself. But in fact, that is something that is on the roadmap. If you want to contribute to the GitHub or look at it, you can go to the GitHub and you can look at all the metrics and the explainers. For those of you who are actually working with explainable AI and working in the field, one of the things that I wanted to add for my fellow researchers is the fact that you can use this framework to register your own explainer. So if you have a custom way of explaining something, the library allows you to register your own explainer, come up with your own explanation, and then do a side-by-side comparison of, does my method explain this AI model better than something standard? Okay, so let me see how much time. Okay, I don't have much left. So let me just go into our workflow. So I have two more things for you guys. So I just walked over Explainiverse. I have two workbooks for you. So the first one is something called LIME. LIME is one of the most fundamental explainable AI methods. It is it's a local explainer, and it can help you explain tabular data. So things like, why is my insurance high here? If you know what models the insurance company uses to evaluate certain things, you can use a LIME explainer, and you can see which factors matter the most. Should I get a red card to get lower insurance or a blue card? Well, if you have the data, LIME can tell you what matters. So this QR code that you just scanned goes into this Colab notebook, and this goes over LIME, which is one of the fundamental explainable AI methods. It's well documented. It used to be the state of the art, and pretty much explainable AI was one of the fundamental things of explainable AI. You don't need to look at the theory if you are not interested, but this is essentially when you want to use LIME. So if you have a black box, you don't know what's particularly inside your data. Yes.
Can you go back to this QR code?
The what?
QR code, scan it.
QR code? Sure.
Thank you.
Got it? Cool. Okay. So if you're working with anything tabular, a lot of the mundane AI is tabular data, right? So very famously or very infamously, LLMs are not that good at doing math and very bad at counting. Very, very bad at counting. So most of the mundane stuff you see that is done by AI, what is your insurance going to be next year? What is your mortgage rate going to be? Should you move or should you shop around for a better rate? Should you switch? Should you switch your housing options to go to a zip code that has better flood insurance, right? All of this stuff, there is AI driving these decisions at the corporate level, at an enterprise level, but it's not the exciting LLM AI, it's the boring tabular AI, which has been around for a while. Lime is one of the ways you can actually look at how this tabular AI works and what actually matters. So when you run this experiment, this you can run with any kind of tabular data. The example is the UCI adult income data, but it can be for anything. I'm not gonna run cell by cell. I'm just gonna show you what it does overall. So it can explain a single prediction. So if you give it a single input, makes a prediction, and it can explain why it does that. So for example, this explanation shows you that this particular feature, the capital gain feature, has the most impact on that result. You can run stability analysis to see how consistent line explanations are. You can run them in batch, and then you can look at overall heavy data set, which features matter the most. You can look at does the line actually, or does the line explanation work better than, I'm just going to randomly pick an explanation. If it's higher, it's better. So you can see the range is pretty higher than just picking at random. And at the end, there is a section where if you know a little bit of Python, you can plug in your own data and then see how line works to give you which features matter. This is for hyperparameter sensitivity if you want to play around more deeply with line. And I designed this initially as a classroom exercise, so I have some exercises, but don't worry about them. If you want the solution, I'll give them to you. So essentially, this is how line works. This notebook shows you how line works under the hood, how to use line to figure out which features in your data affect the outcome of a machine learning model. Okay. And then finally, I have another notebook for you. This is part of a series, so I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to give you the first two. So if you scan this QR code, this is the second most commonly used explainable AI method. It's called the SHAP method or Shapley value method. And this is the original or vanilla SHAP, which is called kernel SHAP. There are many variants of SHAP, and a lot of them are covered under the Explainiverse umbrella, so you can use Explainiverse to get any of them. But let's take a look at the vanilla one, and this is over here. So when you go to this guy, Shapley essentially comes from game theory. So game theory is, if you're not familiar, how can we algorithmically play and win games? So these Shapley, SHAP basically stands for Shapley Additive Explanations, and this is a framework. And these guys made a killing out of just modifying Shapley a little bit and then coming out with different methods one by one. But they are all valuable. So Shapley is, after Lime, it's probably the most commonly used explainable AI method, and it is model agnostic. The trade-off is computational cost. Okay, so again, with the same adult income data set, we can do the same exploratory analysis. We can train some models and look at how our explanations vary. So Shapley actually tells you that there are other features which are more important to predictions on the same data set. And you might find this is the case based on A, what explainer you use, and B, what model you use. So sometimes you're going to find that they give you different results. What that means is the models are fundamentally looking at different aspects, and two, your data might not be weighted the same way across the models. So you can take a look at how features, what features are important to kernel SHAP compared to Lime, and then we can do a side-by-side comparison of kernel SHAP and Lime across the same data set, and you can see that it does not match up very well. And that's perfectly fine, because sometimes the models, A, are initialized differently, B, they might be different underlying models, and C, the data might be pre-processed differently. And the explainers might actually look at different aspects of the data set. Okay. We can do some kind of sensitivity analysis. And then again, there is a way to plug in your own data with the sklearn adapter in Explainiverse. We can also look at some open-ended exercises. Again, it's open-ended. If you want the solutions to the exercises, I'm happy to give them to you. So that is how we look at explainable AI using Lime and SHAP. Going back to the slide deck, I think we are almost done. And I would invite all of you to go to the Explainiverse website, which is explainiverse-explorer.lovable.app, and explore the GitHub repo. It's actively under development, so next week you might find some more tutorials and more resources. But if you want to get into explainable AI, I would highly recommend going to this website and going to the Learn, and then getting an introduction to how explainability works. Yeah, so that is.
Question?
Oh, here's the mic. Seems to be one of the most explainable and curated and thoughtful. Well, I see Anthropic seems to be one of those explainable and that kind of thing. Do you think OpenAI is going too fast in breaking things as compared to the ethical way that Claude has put the line down with the War Department, for example, and saying it shouldn't be used this way, that we don't understand what's inside the black box? Is it an engineerable out problem? Is bias engineerable out?
That's a very good question.
No pressure.
That's a very good question. Okay. So I would reflect back to a time when it still is the Wild West, but it was the wilder West for large language models. And a lot of corporations, once they figured out how to use compute to train language models, they went haywire, like trying to release new models every day. Microsoft very famously or infamously released a model based on a lot of Reddit data. And then it turned out to be the most racist, obnoxious interface model ever.
Yeah.
And
Asian
the-
Nazis from
Yeah.
Gemini.
yeah, Google before Gemini released a model that was so bad that they rebranded it from Bard to Gemini, if you remember Bard. So one of the drawbacks of this is if you don't program or if you want to ingest all kinds of data and then train your model without any restrictions or safeguards, the AI by itself does not have a sense of direction, right? It doesn't know a Reddit comment is not the same as a peer-reviewed article, right? What is bound to happen is when you look at the outputs, eventually you're going to find that, oh, there's a problem. It cannot do this. It can't count. It's not that the LLM can't count. It obviously knows all the numbers. It can list the numbers listing numbers from 1 to 500 is a trivial thing. Anybody can do it.
But the number of R's in strawberry, it couldn't do because
But
token.
well, it tokenizes it, but there's a more important facet here, which is I think very important when you are prompting. First of all, the AI is not a person, not yet, anyways. And secondly, the AI is going to repeat patterns it sees, and when you feed it data, training corpora of data, especially conversational training corpora of data, reflect the fact that people tend to efficiency and tend to laziness, right? Laziness, bias, and the AI does not know LLMs don't know how to filter it at the training stage. If you have organization that for lack of a better word, emphasizes this kind of rigor at the throughout their process. Let's say they want to say, we want to be ethical all throughout, and we don't want to compromise on the ethics. That decision applies not only to what you see for, hey, we don't want to use our LLM for war purposes, for violence. It also applies where you don't see it. We want to apply the same ethics to our training process for our AI, which is why Claude is better. I don't think anybody here is going to disagree that Claude is a better LLM than OpenAI or ChatGPT. Yes.
Partially, it depends on what you're doing.
Depends on what you're doing. True.
Because like I use Claude as a critic, and I use ChatGPT as a colleague.
As a what?
As a colleague.
As a colleague?
Yeah.
Yes.
Bounce ideas off.
That's perfectly fine. When I do test-driven development, I found the error rate from Claude generating the tests and OpenAI generating the tests. Claude always generates more robust tests. It's harder for the OpenAI agent to produce code that passes Claude's tests than vice versa. By the way, that's a pattern that I personally use that I would like to share, which is use multiple LLMs for coding and testing. Yes.
I also noticed that ChatGPT is very good with physics.
That ChatGPT is very good with physics.
Very good observation.
But it's LLM though. So I would like to know what your thoughts are on LLM, because in my experience, especially when I compare it to what Claude has to say, it does a very good job at being able to understand general relativity versus quantum field theory.
Yes. So Claude, the reason why Claude appears that way, from what I've surmised, I use Claude and ChatGPT a lot for summarizing research articles and kind of looking at what they're saying, and I kind of point out flaws when I'm interacting with them. And one of the crucial things I've seen is OpenAI is not, for lack of a better term, does not like to admit its mistakes. And Claude, the moment you point something, it will question itself repeatedly.
I've noticed ChatGPT does that too, especially if you train it.
If you train it, if you prompt it well enough.
Yeah.
But
Not always, but it can.
yeah, and also if you notice, I'm not sure if this is true for everyone, but if you turn on the full extended mode for all of them, ChatGPT takes a very long time nowadays. And if you look at the training, if you look at the thinking trace, you're going to figure out that a lot of times ChatGPT thinks in circles. It's going to go in a circle, in a circle, in a circle. Claude is much better at catching circular thinking. And one of the quirky things I found in language model research is this is actually a very common finding in Reddit comment threads. They often go in circles because you'll find someone say something and people don't expand the tree. So someone will say that same thing again, way down. And it looks like a circle once you try graphing the named entities. So if you don't have a clever way of catching that while you're training, your LLM is going to start thinking in circles as well. Yes.
All right, so I have a question from the cybersecurity perspective.
Sure.
How do we prevent explanation-based attacks, where you train a model to give biased or malicious output?
Very good question. And it's very forward-thinking too. For cybersecurity domains, the one thing you need to understand is it's not just for LLMs, it's for any cybersecurity. You have to be proactive, not reactive. And if you have an explanation-based attack, the best defense against an explanation-based attack is to understand the explanation vulnerability beforehand. So, first of all, when you are deploying an LLM model at the enterprise level, you need to have defensive safeguards and guardrails against an explanation-based attack. Secondly, the metrics that we just discussed, there are signs in the metrics which will point to where your vulnerabilities are. So for example, if you have some metrics that tell you the explanation is not very faithful across a large domain, that will basically point to your vulnerability. So it's the same as you approach any kind of cybersecurity. Look for your vulnerability and patch it before it becomes attackable.
And for the audience, and maybe you already pointed this out, what is an explanation-based attack?
Okay, thank you for that question. So an explanation-based attack is when you have a model, you know the explanation for a model, and then you basically manipulate your input data to get the output that you're looking for, right? And the correct way to defend it is figuring out this vulnerability and making your model robust against this kind of attack. Sometimes it's not an attack. Sometimes that's exactly what you should do. If I'm applying for credit and I have evictions, then an explanation-based attack would be, what can I do so that my evictions don't matter or that I can hide it? That's an explanation-based attack. Yes.
What's your opinion on Jensen's announcement yesterday with AGI, and how do you think you stop the hallucination effect?
Do you want my personal opinion or my professional opinion?
Both opinions, and this will be the final question. And
Okay. So, personally, I admire Jensen Huang. I have personally been in conversations with him at weird hours of the night over email. The guy's a genius. He'll think of an idea and he'll send a message and people would respond to him and be like, yeah, let's discuss this idea. So he's, I don't know of any large company tech CEO who engages with their workforce at that kind of level. Like you can, if you're an Nvidia employee, you can send them a message anytime you want. And if it's an interesting enough thing,
said nowadays it really an answer.
yeah. So personally, I like if he has an opinion, I really respect his opinions. Professionally, AGI, there is no solid explanation of what is AGI. So if you define AGI as, can it pass these exams? Or I'll give it like humanities last exam or whatever set of questions. Can it pass this exam? Can it pass the test? If so, again, that's a derivative of an explanation-based attack. If I know what the exam is going to be, I'm going to make my model good enough to pass that exam. And then I can claim AGI. But we don't have a proper definition, particularly like the line between not AI and AGI is not a very well-defined line, right? So can it count to 1,000? If it can, then do we really have AGI? So again, there's no set defining line between AI and AGI. So it's a little, I would say a little premature to say that we have AGI, but we do have a lot of components or a lot of behaviors that reflect what an AGI-enabled system would show you or would tell you. So yeah, and the autonomy is a big part of it. So I hope that answers your question.
All right, thank you, everyone. Let's give it up. That was a great presentation. Right, hopefully everyone had an awesome night tonight. Hopefully we all learned something. We started the DeepStation Fort Lauderdale chapter in January. It's very new, so we're so excited to see it growing. We'll keep you updated on our April event. And one thing I want to note is we're always looking for speakers. So one of my goals, aside from just connecting the community, is I want to give people a chance to share their knowledge, to share their wisdom. Like today, we heard 2 topics, and like I learned so much, and I feel like they're topics that haven't been touched on. So if you have something interesting you want to speak about, please come see me and Grant. We'd love to get you on here. And overall, hope you had a good time, and hope to see you at the next event. And I just want to take a quick picture of the speakers, and then we'll just do some open networking. So yeah. All right, let's get a quick picture. What we gotta get? Oh, can you take a picture? Yeah. Come on, too, Grant. Or she can. Yeah, man. She can take it. Turn on my. I can't go back. Okay. I was like, oh my God. Thankfully, you did the right way. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Oh, yeah, well, this is. You had a pretty much.
Yeah. Should I stop recording?
Yeah, we could go.
Can I click X?
Yeah.
Leave studio.